Hello, my friends. I want to talk to you about the power of power. I just think it's so funny how many videos and TED Talks there are. The power of blah blah blah. It's like the power of potato baking, the power of vulnerability was maybe the first one, or one of the first ones. The power of everything. It's like okay. So what's really interesting to me is that that title is really interesting to people. The power of, the power of, the power of. What is that? What's the assumption there? Well, people want power. They want power, and they want to know the different ways that they can get it. And what's really interesting is culturally nowadays, wanting power is like, oh shit, can I say that? It's not okay to want power. It's like gross and dirty, right? So there's some confusion around what power is, because we secretly want it, but we're not supposed to want it. It's kind of like sex was at some period in time, where it's like, and still today in some domains, it's like, oh, I can't talk about sex. I can't want what I want. So I can't want what I want. I can't want power, but I do, but I can't, but I can, but I can't, but I do, but I can't. So the way I think about power makes it really easy for me to want it. Doesn't feel dirty. It honors and respects the cultural resistance to power because it's nuanced. And actually, my experience is that conceptualizing power in this way actually gives me more power, because it makes power more accessible, because it makes it more okay to have power, to talk about power, to make it more of an interest and a focus in my life. So I won't go into the history of my interest in power, or maybe I'll mention it really briefly. Was a little kid. My dad was 6'6". I was short. He was Big John. I was Little John. I got picked on in elementary school, and I felt powerless compared to him, what he could do versus what I could do. Got bullied at a new school. I got into martial arts, little Karate Kid action. I fought back, beat up a few kids that were bullying me. That stopped. I found some power. And then that became an orientation in my life, and it still is, but it's like, how can I have more power? In the beginning, it was to protect myself. Then it was like, how can I have the power to graduate and go to the university that I want, to get the love that I want from my parents? Well, how could I get more intellectual power then after university? It was, how can I create power in business? What can I do to learn to sell and create financial power? And then I was very interested in magic, performance magic. How could I have the power to create experiences in other people of magic and joy? And so it started to move from a power to get, from feeling fear, to a power to create for myself and then for others, right? From physical protection to intellectual power to financial to the power to gift experience. And I could talk about the power and intimacy too, of course, that's there as well. But so it's been this journey in my life of being oriented around power. And in the beginning, we could say it was an orientation of seeking of power from fear. And slowly throughout my development and my just maturing, it's become more of a power through love, a power sourced in love. And so what does that mean? Power from fear, power from love. You've probably heard that before. But to me, what makes it really simple is physics. My focus at university was physics and mathematics, and physics power is really simply and straight up defined, and it's not considered a bad thing. Oh, you shouldn't take that, it's dirty or it's evil. No, it's just physics. It's just an equation. So power is equal to the work done divided by time, the time it takes to do that work. And so what is work? It's like, well, it's moving a certain amount of force in an amount of time, right? Exerting a force in a certain amount of time. But another way you could say that is the change made to a system. That's the way that you describe work in physics. The change made to a system. You could say also the transfer of energy is another way of equating work. So the transfer of energy, the change made to a system. So let's make that even more just normal language. We could say that power equals not the work divided by time, but we could say the difference made divided by the time it takes to make that difference. Or you could say, or power equals the energy put out or received divided by the time it takes for that energy to be put out or received. And so what kind of energy? You could use energy from fear. It's like, so the difference I can make from fear divided by the time it takes to make the difference. If I yell, motherfuckers, and I got guns in my hand, it's like, I'm fucking making a difference. People are running all over the place, and I do that in a very short amount of time. If I like have like, I don't know, a stick in my hand, I say, hey people, hey bad people, it's like not many people are gonna run around because it's not as scary, so I make less of a difference in less time, both from fear, right? Like I'm gonna attack or fight. It's like if I got like a cannon, right? Whoa, you know, but that's from fear. But if I'm like out there with love, if I'm doing the thing where it's like I preach the ideas of nonviolence, then in a very short amount of time I can change the whole direction of a country. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, to be an expression of love in a way that's very profound, to be a stand for that, can make a big difference in a short amount of time. You know, to say something to my wife like, I love you or I'm sorry is a transfer of energy. It's the expression of who I am, and it can make a difference in a certain amount of time. You know, it can, and I could have a bunch of conversation with my wife and skating around the idea of apologizing, and it can make much less of a difference and take a lot longer, and then what happens? The power goes down. And so the power really simply is the difference we make in the world divided by the time it takes us to make that difference. And I think when you think about power this way, it's like it just makes it so much easier to be in a relationship to, because then you just have to think about, well, how can I make more of a difference in less time? And if I want to have a relationship with power that doesn't feel gross, scary, bad, you know, incoherent with what society's standards are, then, and I want to sleep at night because it's easier to sleep when I'm acting in coherence with what society deems acceptable and healthy, then I'm going to ask myself, how can I make a difference from love? And how can I do that in less time? And if I'm doing that, then I'm actually asking, how can I have more power? How can I have more power from love? How can I make more of a difference in less time from love? That's power. It's that simple. And I think if you relate to power that way, it will give you more power. And if you'd like support in that, let's have a conversation. Being in my creator circle for a year is one of the best ways to do that. But also just speaking to me once briefly will give you more power, because it will help you to see how you can show up in your life more from love, and you can make more of a difference in less time. That's the essence of my work. Freedom, love, power, those are the three deepest and most important values to me. That's what I help people get and create. So if you'd like some of that, subscribe, keep watching my videos, comment, send me a message. Anyway, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.